Welcome back to another episode of Important Miscellaneous Talks. I'm your host, Glasser Crossfield, and we have a very special guest with us here today. Please introduce yourself.
Name is Chris Schwenk. I'm a employment staffing specialist. Been in the business over 15 years, and I guess we're going to talk about getting people better jobs and the job market right now. So excited.
The last name Schwenk is so awesome. That's a fun name to say, man.
It's not very show business, is it?
So please explain to the people that don't already know what you do.
Yeah, so I've been a recruiter for a long time. Like I said, last 15 years, mainly tech jobs, getting people higher paying jobs, kind of mid to senior level tech people. So that's been my core business for the last, like I said, about 15 years. And recently, I've just been running up to an issue where there's just a lack of supply of people to do these jobs. So I was like, let me start putting out some content on how to get started, how to get a better job. Because I mean, there's like 200, 300K bags that people are just like not collecting and they just stay open. So I'm like, all right, we have to fix this immediately. And really in tech, you get a niche skill set and boom, quickly you're at six figures, then you're at 200. And then from there, then the fun starts. You can go a lot of different ways. You can start consulting. You can go to a startup, get some equity, go to a big tech company, get stock options there. So a lot of options for creating wealth. And you see now on the internet, everyone wants to be an entrepreneur, everyone, entrepreneur. But I'm like, okay, so the average entrepreneur makes like, I don't know, it's tough to find the real numbers, but I think I saw like 60 to 80K. And like, you get to start in tech, you're making that like basically entry level.
Mm.
So you make that entry level, you're scaling quickly if you do the right things and choose the right skills. And then you can always go to entrepreneurship down the line. Certain jobs don't take, I have people making 200K, but they're not spending a lot of time. So with that free time, what do you want to do? Do you want to start your own thing, start an app, become a real estate guy, whatever you want to do? There's just so many options. And but people have to, they don't teach you this type of stuff in school. It's like add to the list of what everyone's been saying. They don't teach you this stuff in school. They don't teach you this. So I've been trying to put out that education.
You're doing the Lord's work, man, and we sincerely appreciate it. So what do you think are some of the best ways to get into tech, get your start into tech?
Yeah, boot camps are that's the probably the easiest way. You choose the right one. I'm going to start putting out videos on what certain careers pay, and not just like you go on Glassdoor and you see a random salary. You say, oh, okay, that's what this career pays. Okay, but I'm going to put out stuff on here's actual open jobs and here's what they pay if you choose this skill set. So yeah, boot camps are an amazing way. 6 weeks. Sometimes it's like a couple $100, and then you get that entry level job, spend a couple months there, learn the ropes. And then once you pivot to the next job, now you start making real money. So yeah, definitely boot camps. I wouldn't bother getting a computer science degree.
Interesting.
That's what I would say. But
Wow. Do you happen to have a degree?
I have a degree. Yeah, I have a degree. I mean, I'm not technical at all. I just recruit the technical people. So yeah, I mean, I'm getting old. I'm 39 now, and back in, when I started, it was like, what college you go to, what big company do you work for? Like those were like the markers of success. And now it's like, oh, you went to college, like this 19-year-old just made $1 million. Like, what's wrong with, like, what are you, an idiot? Or like, oh, you work for a big company. Um, like this guy's doing drop shipping and making this much. And
Okay.
so yeah, I do have a degree, but that's what you did back then. And I don't think it's really necessary now.
Yeah, I would definitely say a degree definitely meant more back then for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. It's become, I don't know. It's become, obviously people are getting in massive debt. And unless you're a doctor, lawyer, whatever, nurse,
Accountant.
accountant, yeah. I mean, there's only a certain things you really need that degree where the training actually comes in handy. Other stuff is like you go through the 4 years and then day one on the job, you're basically learning everything from scratch because the 4 years did not teach you anything for the job. So
Mm.
uh, yeah, I mean, there's people that are pivoting, getting into tech, boot camp, a couple $100, entry level job, and then they start really making some money. Um, so yeah, degree.
Um, so why pick the emphasis in tech?
Yeah, well, I mean, I would say there's just more high paying jobs.
Mm.
Every company needs it on some level, and obviously it's not going anywhere. Um, you look at things in the news, and then you kind of see where things are going. Like this MGM cyber hack. Like, guess what's happening to their salaries?
Mm.
Like anyone in cyber. It's like, and apparently it's like more Vegas casinos are getting kind of shut down because of this hack. So it's like, you get your start in cyber, and these companies are, you could shut down the whole company. And you're going to look at MGM stock over the next whatever couple of weeks or months. So to prevent that from happening, um, companies are not going to be shy about overpaying for good talent. So um, you get those skills, and you can pretty much command almost whatever you want.
So if someone wants to do a boot camp, does that guarantee them a spot to get their start in their career?
uh, Nothing's guaranteed, but some of them, the best ones, have, and you should kind of vet them out as you're considering boot camps. But some of them have pipelines to entry level jobs. Kind of agreements with the boot camps already set up. So definitely, when you're talking to them, ask about that. Um, no, it doesn't guarantee, but I would say you pick the right skills. And I mean, these things are in such demand. Something like we were talking about cyber, Python. It's a coding language, and I have multiple 300K jobs. Just no one can do them because there's not enough people.
Mm.
Uh, you know, so that and data engineering, obviously data. All the biggest companies in the world are selling your data, and they need data engineers to kind of they're collecting and selling your data. They need these data engineers to go through it and figure out, okay, he's a Lakers fan. Well, if they,
Right.
they're doing all these things to figure out exactly, write a profile of you, and then they're selling that to, okay, StubHub. So now suddenly in your emails or whatever, you're getting, Lakers seats, or stuff like that. So that's why data engineering is super important these days, and that's another skill that there's just not enough people that do it, and these jobs just sit open, and they're high paying jobs. Um, so
You mentioned how some of these corporations keep that job opening on these sites like LinkedIn or Indeed or ZipRecruiter, whatever the case may be. And I see that a lot, and I'm wondering why it's up there for 2 months plus. So do you think these corporations they're just like, well, we're just gonna wait until we find our person instead of, because I figure from my point of view, I figure that you might just be better off picking the best person out of the people that applied?
Yeah, it's I think that that's a number of issues where they put up the posting and then you'll see on LinkedIn it's like 1,000 people also applied, and you're like, oh man, so now you're one out of 1,000, and a lot of people are unqualified that apply. It's like very easy just to click,
Yeah,
send your resume.
yeah,
So now you're good. You're one out of 1,000, and they have to sort through like people that are like like I've had technical roles that just someone's like a truck driver. Oh yeah, I'd love to do that. It's like, well, all right, I'm
right.
sure you would, but you're not qualified. You know, so that could be the problem. That's why, that's why my industry exists, because like I'm kind of like an agent for you. Like
Mm,
I'm fighting to get your resume to the top. I'm pushing you. I'm telling them how great you are. Um, so that's kind of one of the advantages of working with someone like me, to stand out above that pack. But you're right; these jobs, they just stay open for months, and it's like, what are you doing? Like,
yeah, because I'm wondering, like, does someone have that role filled, or are you just keeping that? Because it seems, and sometimes they even say like it's an urgent role, and I'm just like, you're keeping it open for weeks on end, then it doesn't seem all that urgent.
exactly, yeah, yeah, and that's the question I have. I'm like, I had a company, they were hiring, and we can talk about remote versus on site, but it's had to be on site. They weren't paying a great salary, and it took 5 weeks from when I sent the guy to when they gave him an offer. And he turned it down because he's like, no, another company, they called me a week ago and they already had an offer yesterday. He's like, and they're paying more. So I'm going to go with them.
Hmm.
So there's a lot of
Yeah,
stupidity at some of these companies, or who knows exactly why things get held up. Finance holds it, there's like a million reasons. But no, you're right. It's like, was this that urgent? Because you'd think you'd be like, boom, setting up interviews the next day. So,
yeah, for real. So how would you describe the job market right now?
well, it's I think a lot of companies are timid right now. No one knows if, obviously inflation, there's so many factors. A lot are a little scared to spend money. And I've actually had companies fire my people and say, like, listen, I was forced to fire this guy. Like, the work is still there. So, like, hopefully he's still available when I get budget in 3 6 months. So companies are actually over firing. Um, it's a strange market, but there's still high paying jobs out there for sure. Um, so it's I don't think anyone. I think an election year, hopefully things stay pretty calm. I think that's what the current administration's hoping for, not to rock the boat too much. But I think companies are a little scared that they will. So you know,
Interesting. Wow. Over firing? I never heard of that before, really. That's crazy.
yeah, it's weird. And it's the other thing about the market is it's still part of the remote COVID life. And then now there's a push to return to the office.
Hmm.
So, and what I've realized is what some companies are doing, they hired people remote and their offices wherever, Seattle, New York. And then it's a way to get around layoffs, which obviously they have to pay severance and everything, and bad publicity. Oh, such and such company, mass layoffs, right? You look bad. So now they say mandatory return to office. And it's like, I live in Florida. What do you mean? And they're like, oh yeah, here's like $3,000 for reload costs, but you have to expect it. You're going to be in the office October 1st. So of course people leave,
Right.
but it's a way around. That's not a mass layoff. Well, we didn't lay him off. He could have still worked. He just had to get his ass to Seattle.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, yeah, that's tough.
Right. So companies play these little games to avoid the bad press or whatever. Um, but we know what's really going on, you know. So
What are some of the best tips for someone who's going on a job interview?
yeah, interviews, I would say it can be unpredictable. Like you don't know if this guy saw some TED talk on asking your favorite giraffe versus like just like some people ask just dumb shit.
Your favorite-
Uh, you don't know if his wife was giving him hell in the morning. Like you don't know his mindset. Like, you know any. It can be very unpredictable. But one thing you know they're going to ask is about your last job. 100% they're going to ask about that, and they're going to ask, and you have to give those answers while I would say like weaving in the job description. Like make sure as you're talking about your last job, kind of weave in bullet points on the job description and kind of why you're a fit. Um, that's probably my best tip. And I always say try to get as much info about the interviewer as possible. Whether it's you're
Mm,
dealing with a recruiter or HR knows anything about them. You can look at their LinkedIn, kind of read the tea leaves, kind of see what type of person they are. Maybe they're a no nonsense type, and you're thinking you need to elaborate on these long answers, and the guy's just like get to the point.
right, right, right.
That can turn them off.
A video I saw of you that I thought was a very good tip is the mirroring, mirror your interviewer.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I mean, like I said, you don't know, you don't always know what they're going to ask, and it could be some really off the wall questions. So you have to um, nail the stuff that you know is going to be asked. And yeah, like I said, mirror the interviewer. Yeah, I mean, a military guy is going to be expect things to be very tight. Um, Other people, they want you to like really elaborate, and you give a quick to the point answer, and they're waiting for you to like expand on it. So that type of thing can rub people the wrong way. And even if you're qualified, they might like someone more. They may just click. It's like they might click with someone more that's equally as qualified, and they're gonna go with that person.
Yeah.
So
What would you suggest to someone who's been on a ton of interviews and just can't seem to land the job that they're looking for?
yeah, that's a lot of people right now. Um, yeah, I mean, try to learn from. Sometimes they'll interview you without even checking your resume. So meanwhile, and other times they'll interview you. They'll have someone identified, but they were told they have to do 5 interviews. So meanwhile, you don't even know it. You're trying your best. You were just kind of like a patsy, like you were just a interview. They were never going to hire you or even consider you. They already have the person identified. So I wouldn't get discouraged. Um, Automate as much as you can as far as the job application process. There are apps that will literally apply to tons of jobs for you that they feel you're qualified for. And it's just getting irons in the fire, really. Um, I'd be active on LinkedIn as much as possible. Uh, they can't hire you if they don't know you exist.
Mm,
And it's like, that's the thing. Like LinkedIn is a, I don't know. I mean, I guess it's kind of like I call it like a free way to post your resume. So back in the old days, it was like if your resume was posted on a job board, they'd be like HR is always looking at the job boards to hire people, and they're like, "Hey, this guy's posted." Now your boss finds out. Now it's a shitstorm. So it's like this guy's interviewing. His resume is posted. Oh my god! So the genius of whoever created LinkedIn, they said it's networking. Meanwhile, all of your stuff is posted, and you're easily found by HR people. So It's kind of like the best way to get a job. A lot of people ignore, especially a lot of young people. I guess it, I don't know if it has a bad reputation as like a boomer thing or like, oh, LinkedIn, same shit. Um, but it is good for. I mean, you're definitely leaving money on the table. If you have a job, you could find a much better one. You can kind of see what the market is, and you can also, if you're selling something, LinkedIn has obviously the concentration of the of all the social media platforms, like probably average income is definitely highest on LinkedIn. So I think a lot of people sleep on LinkedIn, um, especially even creators. Just get the word out on LinkedIn for sure.
Interesting. I think that LinkedIn, a lot of the younger generation doesn't care to look into it because it's just not as fun. It's just seemingly not as fun on paper. So I don't think a lot of the younger generation cares to even look into it because they don't really see the worth and value that it has.
Yeah, yeah, and they're sleeping on it. I'm telling you, it's a great way to. Yeah, I mean, I always say like you're leaving money on the table if you're not active on there, because people come to me all the
Look at these numbers. Please subscribe and help me out. Love you.
time. I'll reach out to them about a job, and then like 2 months later, they're like, "Hey, is this still open?" Like, yeah, sorry, I don't really check this. I'm like, no, it got filled. Like, oh damn, like, where were you 2 months ago?
Yeah, people reach out to you on LinkedIn sometimes, so that
Yeah,
helps. What are some of the best ways for people to monetize LinkedIn?
yeah. Well, I mean, like you were saying, it's not as fun. I started putting up videos, the same videos I would do on same like reels and like TikToks and stuff. I'm doing to like kind of get the word out. I put them on LinkedIn, and like since no one's doing that on LinkedIn, it's like everyone's like, "Whoa, what is this?" I'm like, "It's the same stuff everyone's doing on reels and TikTok." They're like, "Wow, that's incredible!" Like, so it's easy to get the word out, and also the one advantage LinkedIn has over the other platforms is if you post something and I like it, whatever you posted now goes to my whole network automatically.
Hmm.
So think about the reach you're getting. And yeah, it's a smaller audience. Um, but I mean, imagine if that happened on the other platforms, it'd be like you would go viral like that. So that's the one advantage to LinkedIn.
Got you. That's interesting. No
Yeah.
one really talks about LinkedIn and strategies on LinkedIn, so that
Uh,
feel like that's an untapped market for sure.
yeah. It's kind of like annoying to people. Like, oh yeah, I never checked that. Like I talked to this guy um, in the crypto space, and he's selling 50K, basically like Bitcoin mining things. And I was like, "Oh, I just added you on LinkedIn. We met at a networking conference." He's like, "I don't check that shit." And I was like,
You
"You're
should.
selling 50K crypto mining things, and you're ignoring a platform that has the most amount of money." It's like, if he goes big on TikTok, most of the audience is like, you know, living in their parents' house. Like they're not dropping 50K on crypto mining. So, um, that was kind of like he's leaving money on the table. So,
Like CEOs are active on LinkedIn.
yeah,
No, I don't
yeah,
think any other social media app has that to the same extent that LinkedIn has. Sometimes for these interviews, I'm looking for important people to talk to, and sometimes I can only reach out on LinkedIn.
right. That's
So
the only place they
yeah,
are.
for real.
So,
Oh, walk us through the process, the best process for someone who has a big interview coming up from start to finish.
yeah, I always say, you know, practice it. You know,
Hmm.
like practice practice what you're gonna say like it's a uh I use like Dave Chappelle. It's like that's the genius of a Dave Chappelle. It seems like he's just coming up with it on the fly, but he works that out in comedy clubs for months before he films those specials to
Mm,
make it seem like he just came up with it. So it's like if I ask you a question, you could probably come up with a good response on the fly, but if I gave you like 3, 4 days, you could really have a great answer.
Right.
You could work it out, and you sit and you would, that initial answer that you gave on the fly with those 3, 4 days, you'd be like, well, that was okay. But now in those 3, 4 days, now I have, um, now I've fleshed out, okay, that sounds bad. Ask people
Mm.
how it sounds. So really practicing is my best tip. Um, and yeah, and just have your resume and the job description up, and just start going over things. They're gonna ask you about stuff in that job description. So if you don't have it, have a good answer for it. Well, I don't know that, but I have this similar thing and I'm open to learning and blah, just don't
Yeah.
saying no. Like you don't want to do that.
Yeah, definitely.
So
What are some of the common mistakes that people make during the interview process?
yeah, little things. And again, it's such an unknown what the guy is going through. He could be having a bad day or whatever. So you don't, I've had people where it's like, yeah, we liked him, but yeah, his Zoom link didn't check your, a lot of them over
The
Zoom.
Wi-Fi. Yeah.
Check the link, make sure it works, make sure your computer's chart. I've had that happen. It's like those little things. It doesn't always screw you. I've had people where, hey, it took us 10 minutes to connect, but we connected and we still hired him because he was good. Okay, great. But I've had also times where those little things made all the difference, because the job may be detail oriented, like, and you couldn't even get your Zoom to work. This is a
Yeah.
technical job, or like you didn't bother to check ahead of time, like you're not preparing, like you're not going to prepare for our meetings. It's just, it's the little things can go a long way. So I would say, yeah, I mean, don't be lazy, because people just, oh yeah, Zoom, whatever, and then they click it at 9:59, and oh, please download the app, and it's like, oh shit.
Or install. Sometimes it'll start updates randomly.
Yeah, that happens all the time. So if there's one tip, especially now with the Zoom stuff, yeah, because before I would just tell people, yeah, I mean, you're 30 minutes away, leave an hour, like, when you're driving to the interview. And there used to be a lot of phone interviews. So obviously, like, yeah, make sure your phone's on, dumbass. Like,
At least.
yeah, but like with Zoom, it creates a lot of a lot of people are just like, hey, you checked the link, right? Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, right before I had to download the new app. Okay, so you didn't check the link, did you? Right.
Mm.
So that's probably the number one thing that trips people up. And yeah, the preparation, obviously. And yeah, and honestly, like from there, it's your experience, and it's how well you kind of vibe with the interviewer. So
How,
but
how, sorry to cut you off. How much do you
no, no,
think that how much do you think that plays a part with like the chemistry that you feel with the person interviewing you? How much do you think that factors into you getting a call back?
it definitely factors in a lot. But ultimately, it's their ass on the line. So if they're hiring you, now they could be like, I've had times where it's like, we loved this person, they were great, but ultimately, when it's their ass on the line, they went with the person that was kind of
Yeah.
better prepared, like kind of a better fit.
Mm.
So the vibing is definitely important. If it's a dead heat, yeah. But you know,
Yeah.
eh, they can get scared.
You
So
don't know how well the other person interviewed, so
yeah, yeah. And and yeah, it's just a lot of unknowns that that's why I say don't get discouraged. Um, because you say, oh, well, I went over 5. Well, it's like I was saying before, 3 of those interviews you had no shot at all.
mm,
They already had the person picked. HR was just making them run through 5 interviews or whatever. There's so much bullshit in these companies, and you can just be caught up in it, not even knowing. And then, people get down on themselves like, oh, I thought I nailed that. It's like, you did nail it. Just they're hiring their friend or something.
It
So
can get really discouraging, man. Hearing how well you did in the interview, and then saying we decided to go in a different direction. It can be
yeah,
really discouraging.
yeah. It's like when you feel like you nailed it, and then you don't hear for a day, and then you're like, okay, and then 2 days you're like, shit, did I nail this? Did I? You're going through, oh man, I should have said this, so you can second guess yourself. But um, you, honestly, like, everyone is bad at interviewing, because if you were good at it, you would be doing it all the time. So it can be a skill, but obviously you don't want to build up that skill too much, because it means you're
Right.
constantly interviewing. So yeah, I mean, yeah, definitely people get very discouraged all the,
Mm.
but I would say just stay with it. Um, I mean, obviously the best time to interview is when you have a job, because then you're coming from a position of strength,
Yeah.
right? So and obviously you need it less. So you're going to be a little looser during that interview
Right.
too. And obviously the other company has you, they want you for their company. So you versus someone that has been out of work for a while, they may go with you, because obviously you're the, hotter commodity, I guess.
What is the best site that's best for applying for jobs?
Applying for jobs. Yeah, there's a lot of new ones. I do all my stuff on LinkedIn though. I post all my open jobs. I blast emails through there. For me, that's the best, because that's where the most people are, and you can get the highest quality of people, um, because obviously people are employed on there. So yeah, I would say, I'm like a broken record with LinkedIn, but yeah, to me, that's the best one. Now, there's industry specific ones that might be better for whoever you are. There's certain jobs for manual labor. There's uh, TV industry jobs. Sometimes you can find an exact job board for exactly what you do, but overall, LinkedIn's the best.
Do you think on LinkedIn you're most likely to have somebody respond to you?
Yeah, yeah. For me, yeah, and people will reach out. I mean, I like to just post I call it the bat signal of an open job, and like I said, someone likes it and it goes to their whole network. So now I'm getting people reaching out to me that I didn't even know directly. So it's
Mm.
not just going to my people, it's going to all of their people too. And so that's the way that, I've, I do 6 figures a year just posting on LinkedIn. It takes no time. So just from that, just filling open jobs from the post, because things can get out to such a wide net, and I'll get 5, 6 resumes right off the bat, and then hopefully we fill it from there.
What do you think are some of the trends in the tech industry right now or for the future?
Well, yeah, I mean, with current events, I'd say get your ass in cyber. Obviously, that was already a trending thing, but the more you see these companies get hacked, these ransomware, it's where a company goes in and says, "Hey, we've taken control of everything. You got to pay us $20 million." And it's like, these hackers get in, and then you're screwed, and the company looks bad. All their customers' data is exposed, and so then they have to apologize to the customers. Hey, sorry, hackers have all your data. Our bad. Uh,
That's true.
it's like, we won't let it happen again, though. So yeah, I mean, that's not going away. And again, every few years you see one of these data hacks. I mean, like Vegas, the MGM was totally shut down, like total shutdown, I believe last weekend. And so that shows the importance of that. AI, obviously, people that are getting a start in that now, you know, I mean, that companies are just going to be writing big checks to people in it. I don't know. He's an AI. Great. Here, take this. Come work for us. So that's not going anywhere. The data engineering, like I was saying before, yeah, I mean, the data is, I guess they call it, data is the new oil of the 21st century. And so these people are taking all that data and engineering it, figuring out what to do with it. And so that's not going anywhere. And just, I don't think even with Chat GPT, all that stuff, you're still going to be fine for many, many years in those skills.
Interesting. AI is here to stay. So do you think that affects the job market in other ways where sometimes AI might be able to phase out an industry or phase out some of the people who work in the industry?
Yeah, yeah, oh, definitely. I don't think it's as doom and gloom as people think because,
Agree.
I don't think they're ready to just
Automate.
take, yeah, to automate everything and just say, okay, we'll just let the AI, there's going to be people still, they're still going to want a high level person to at least overlook what's going on with the AI for many years until it gets where it needs to be. So, but yeah, I mean, some industries, copywriters, that's been a hot skill recently. People getting into copywriting, and now AI can do a lot of that. So, um, so stuff like that could go away, but a lot of people sleep on like the manual labor jobs, which I don't personally do those, but I mean, those with and again, it's supply and demand, like these tech jobs, but it's like, how soon till a robot comes in and fixes your HVAC? It happened next year? No. So we
Right.
still need those HVAC boys. And I mean, they already make really good money that people just assume like they don't make any money, those guys, but they make really good money and that's going to keep going up and up. Jobs like that, when's a robot going to unclog your toilet, fix your sink?
Right.
Not going to be for a while, right?
It's your house.
So yeah, so don't sleep on those jobs. I always say, even though I mean, again, I only do tech, but um, you can still make really good bags in things people don't think about. Um, like like a manager of Walmart, I think the salary is like 160 to 200K. Like I just learned that. Like
That's tough.
no idea. I had no idea they made that much money, but I'm like, oh damn, that's pretty good. So
That's substantially good.
yeah, yeah. I mean, like people look down at a manager at Walmart, but it's like that guy's in like whatever the top 4% of income earners in the country or something. Like he's doing pretty well. So,
If you weren't in this industry, what would you be doing?
ooh, I wasn't in this industry. I've been in it so long. That's a really good question. There's a lot. There's a lot now that you can really just um, like we were saying, make tons of money. And so if I had to switch up right now, I mean, I'm trying to build like communities within the employment space. That's like kind of like my next goal. So, but yeah, I mean, real estate, stuff like that, financial advising. I'd probably go into that.
Interesting. And my final question, how do you want to be remembered?
Yeah, well, hopefully I am the person that got you into a great job. helped you get a better job, or hopefully I was the last push to get you into tech.
Mm,
Because, especially like, you know, on some of the social media, like Instagram, TikTok, like I deal with a lot of younger people, and yeah, I mean, get your ass in tech. Let's get a great bag, work from home. Yeah, like quickly you can work from home, make a couple 100K, and then you have tons of time. Like I always say, we all know that person that makes good money in their life. Someone in your life that's making 200, 250K, and you're like, okay, that's, you're the what, top 1%, but they have no life and their health went to shit
mm,
because their job sucks everything out of them. And my goal is to not just get you that high level bag, it's to get it while having the best quality of life. And to me, that's remote work. And, that's either a high hourly job where you're done working at 5. I mean, you're not even asked to like log on after 5. From there, what do you want to do? You could run a side hustle. You could have a second job, start a real estate little empire. You could do so many things. And to me, that's what I like to get people. I like to get people to that point where you're not just making the money, you're having a great life, or double or tripling up on the money. So hopefully that's what I'll remember for. I want to get as many people into this thing as possible, so we can start filling some of these high level jobs, because there's just a lack of people doing them right now. So
yeah, I think that definitely one thing that separates you from the competition is you don't only want them to have a job, but you actually care enough for them to live a fulfilling life. That's
yeah,
beautiful.
yeah. And if your health goes to shit, what's the point? You
Right.
know, it's like we all know that. Oh, I'm just too stressed, and it's like, well,
Right.
okay, on paper you technically make good money, but your life is terrible. So what was the point of it? Um,
At what cost?
so at what cost, right? Like this guy's making 100K and he's got a great life. Like, I don't know. I think people would rather be him than you.
Definitely.
So, you know, so that's, yeah, I think that's what I would like to think, I'd like to be remembered by. So
Well, Chris, thank you so much for your time. This has been an absolute pleasure. Where can the people find you?
yeah, Instagram and TikTok, Chris_Dello staffing. You can find me on LinkedIn, Christopher Schwenk, and I post on all the socials. I think I have a YouTube. I do YouTube Shorts now. That's like the new thing. That's wild. You either
Definitely.
go viral or you get no response.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's actually that is a very good point. That is a very good point. Is
Yeah,
it
like you're on.
thousands or 50?
Yeah, yeah, or like 2. I'm like, well, 2
Yeah.
people, like
Yeah, that's
that's
insane. Yeah.
cool. Yeah. So yeah, yeah. Follow me on those. I like to provide education on getting people into tech. And if you're in tech, I'd love to get you a better job.
All right then.